All right, and joining me today is Modestas Bukauskas, who fights Vitor Petrino at UFC Sao Paulo, Brazil on November 4th. So, Modestas, I got to start here. You had a tough go of it your first time through the UFC, but now you're back. You power back through two tough fights in Cage Warriors, and now you've ripped off two straight wins in the UFC. So, my question for you is, obviously you've got bigger goals than just these two wins, but is there a sense of satisfaction that you've kind of shown the haters or the naysayers, like, this is what I'm about now?
Oh yeah, 100%, mate. Trust me, that's one of the massive logs on my fire, if you will. It definitely fuels me, especially when I got cut and obviously I had the really bad knee injury. A lot of people were telling me that I was never going to be able to compete in MMA again, and that was just the extra bit of motivation or the reason to be like, nah, hold on a minute, like I'm gonna show you what I'm all about. Like clearly you don't know me if you think it's over for me. So you know, I feel like my first UFC run was just a learning curve. It was something that I needed to see where the actual holes in my game were. Now I feel like I'm ready to take the shot at going for the belt. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not here to mess around. I'm not here just to show about and be that guy who wins a couple, loses a couple. No, I'm here to be a superstar. And I've seen guys like Sean O'Malley do their thing and stuff like this. This was my path. Everyone's path is different. My path had to go this way, but I'm very thankful it did go this way because it's hardened my mind. It's made me the athlete I am today. It's made me correct a whole load of holes in my game. So I'm thankful, and there's definitely the fire continues to keep burning.
Absolutely. And I want to talk to you about that title picture too, because it's really interesting. But before I do, you mentioned the naysayers for you. A lot of that was medical, like wondering whether or not your knee could come back. Was it mostly just people saying that they didn't know if you could come back? Or, were you one of those people dealing with, loads of trolls online and stuff like that too?
Yeah, there was a lot of both actually. There was a lot of guys saying that I'll never come back. He's finished, or he wasn't good enough for the UFC anyways, and stuff like this. In all fairness, I did get a bit of support. Guys saying, "Oh, but he probably should have won that Oleg Shaychuk fight." But a lot of guys saying, "Oh, yeah, but he would never be a guy that would win the belt and blah blah blah." So I had a mixed bag, but I definitely had a massive drop of support. I went from like 13 point something thousand followers down to 11,000 followers on Instagram. Like it's just mad to just show you how fickle people are these days. And it's like if you're not in the spotlight, I was even trying to do YouTube videos, like just to keep my mind off everything, stay positive, show people how my recovery's going. And I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. No one really give a shit. Like I think people were just kind of like, whatever. He's out of the UFC. He's done. There's nothing to it. It's mad because now more people are paying attention. Just because I've managed to kind of prove all them wrong, and there's a lot more proving wrong yet still to be done.
Yeah, and those followers have gone way up afterwards too. I feel like it's worth noting you're up to almost 18,000 now. So the fickle have returned, so to speak. And
Yeah.
a lot of it is those two wins, right? And not only did you pick up two incredible wins, but you did it on their soil, right? Zach Pounga, a guy not from that far away from Vegas, has trained in Vegas a bunch. Tyson Pedro, a guy from Australia who you beat in Australia. Now you got Vitor Petrino in Brazil. Is that kind of just going to become your thing? Are you just the guy going to hunt people down on their home territory?
I mean, there is something quite savage about that, isn't that? You know what I mean? It's like I'm going on horseback, with my sword and my shield and my freaking my spear and going out into enemy land and trying to take over. Do you know what I mean? Trying to chop the head off the king and present it to his people, sort of vibes. Do you know what I mean? Like proper warrior spirit. I mean, it's really cool. I get to see, loads of part of the world that I haven't seen before. Australia was a beautiful country. Obviously, Vegas, I've been there before. I had to actually beat a lot of demons fighting at the Apex again, because obviously that's where the knee injury happened. But now I get to go to Brazil, another beautiful country, beautiful climate. I get to top up the tan when I'm out there as well. Um, I wouldn't want to exactly say I want to make it like sort of a. I like fighting somewhere else, and like I say, the primal sort of thing about going into another man's land and taking what's yours. Um, but I feel like fighting three times in a country outside of mine, if they do another London card at the beginning of next year with a massive win here, that's got to be my spot earned. Do you know what I'm saying? So that would be something that really means a hell of a lot to me because I remember writing it on my vision board or somewhere in my notes somewhere, like, is my dream to fight at the O2 in front of a hometown crowd. And I don't know if anyone, the English followers will know about Gigs Talking the Hardest. It's my entrance tune, and that is like an old school banger. You have that playing out in the speakers out in the O2, mate. There's going to be an absolute frenzy. Like, people are going to be going mad. Like, in all fairness, it's going to get everyone like feeling very violent, even in the stands, which I don't know, maybe not such a good thing. But yeah, man. As much as I enjoy going to another land and conquering, I do want to fight on hometown soil also. And like I say, after a big win here, I definitely would have earned the right to do that.
Absolutely. I think so too. And I got to ask too, because you mentioned just hostile crowd, right? And you mentioned getting a little violent in the crowd. I know when I talked to you after, you picked up the big win in Perth, you said the Aussies were mostly kind of calmer people and they were mostly nice and respectful at the end of the day. You're going to Brazil, which is notorious for it. Have you thought at all about, kind of the hostile energy that is a Brazilian crowd?
Yeah, I know I'm definitely not going to be greeted with such a warm energy. I mean, but look, when I went to Australia as well, I mean, although the people were lovely, they were still booing me. Do you know what I mean? They were booing me when I was out doing the weigh-ins. They were booing me when I walked out into the arena. When I won the fight and beat their guy, they were really respectful. Now, will I get the same reception here if I beat their guy? I mean, who knows? But I feel like Australia was a little bit of a little small taste as to what is to come. I know it's going to be amplified, going to Brazil, because they get very behind their people. It's kind of nice to see that there's so much energy and like, support for their hometown crowd. Like that for me, it like makes me, it like kind of gives me more energy because I'm like, bloody hell, they really love this sport out here. So I'm going to go out here, it's almost like a gladiator. Do you know what I mean? I love that quote all the time. You win the crowd, you win your freedom. So this is my chance to win my freedom out here. Do you know what I mean? I've got to win over the crowd. How do you do that? Put on a spectacular performance. Go and take out their guy. Be gracious in victory, and then move on and conquer more land. So yeah, mate. Like I say, I'm just fully ready to embrace everything that comes with it. I know it'll be hostile, but I feel like now I thrive more in those situations.
I love that. Now, I want to talk to you about the stylistic matchup of fighting Vitor Petrino and obviously his prospect status and all that. But before I do, I want to talk to you about the title picture because, like you said, light heavyweight's one of those divisions. You rip off a couple of huge wins, and all of a sudden you're right in the thick of things, especially because it's been really volatile at the top. There's been, a title dropped, then a draw, and then a guy got injured, and then it's dropped again. And now we're talking about a pretty exciting title fight coming up next. Give us kind of your thoughts on what the top of the division looks like and what you think of that upcoming title fight.
Yeah, so obviously Prohaska and Pereira, well earned by Pereira, obviously being the middleweight champion, and then obviously beating a top contender in Jan Blachowicz. Um, we don't know what Yuri's going to be like coming off a shoulder injury, but if I'm judging it based off of his previous performances, he's very erratic and like crazy with his movements. But when he gets going, boy, does he get moving. He's got different angles that not many people see. Pereira is very powerful and very good, but who knows? Yuri may throw up some crazy takedown, throw up some kicks from some weird angles. So from that perspective, I think the unorthodox nature of Prohaska will probably give him the win in that fight, whether it be a decision or a finish. And you can see he's got that dog in him. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't want to quit. He wants to keep going. Both of those guys. It's going to be an extremely explosive fight. And I'm really obviously looking forward to that. I believe another fight in that mix is also Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. That's going to be a very interesting fight to see. I do believe that it's almost a similar thing where Ankalaev is a bit more the technical striker from Sao Paulo, whereas Johnny Walker's a bit more crazy. He's kind of calmed his game down a bit. He's become a bit more methodical. Obviously, in my personal opinion, I do see Ankalaev taking that fight just from his pressure style, his southpaw stance, and his grappling prowess. So there's a lot of exciting fights at the top of the division. Yeah, it's great to see all the top 15 fights, unfold, and it's becoming a lot more interesting as a division as a whole, especially the guys within the top 15, which is obviously some which is where I'm going to be working towards, fight after fight.
Right. And in order to get there, this fight is going to be a huge piece of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about fighting Vitor Petrino. He's a guy who people have kind of touted as like a big prospect, a big up and comer. Not that you haven't turned away a couple of those already as it is, but like people are big on him because of the punching power, seemingly that being his biggest strength. What do you personally think of his game and how it matches up with yours?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's clearly very talented, very athletic, young, explosive, very explosive, especially on the ground, on the ground aspects. Like he's able to escape out of certain positions, using technique and explosion, putting those two together with the blend. You know what I mean? He seems to have some wrestling that he has. So he seems obviously all-rounded, but his main strength is obviously his striking, his Thai sort of style. One thing that I think, with me and him is that, my movement, my experience, my different like array of techniques that I'm going to be able to throw, I'm definitely think it's going to be able to throw him off. He comes in very hard and fast, especially very early on. He seems later on to sort of tire in the later rounds, especially if you go into a bit of a crazy sort of exchange. What can I say? He's a very good fighter. He's an up and coming prospect, but it's my time now. I'm here to take away his shine. He's a very good fighter, but it's my job to, at the end of the day, take him out and move on towards bigger and better things. And he's going to have his home court advantage, but I'm definitely going to have the experience advantage. And at the end of the day, I've got to take it to him in his home country. The only way you're going to beat a guy like that is to take it to him, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right. Well, I usually like to end these things with a prediction. Then tell me what's it look like when you take it to him come November 4th.
I'm gonna throw everything out the bag. I'm gonna fight with full ferocity, full energy, full explosion. Two titans are gonna clash. As I say, it's gonna be two very explosive, two very explosive styles, an absolute barn burner. But it's only gonna end with one thing, which is me getting my hand raised. I do believe I'm gonna finish him. Probably by the second round, if not the third. But I'm going out there to finish him, man. At the end of the day, he's going out there to finish me. I'm going out there to finish him. So the only thing that I'm going to say is I'm going to go and finish him.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. This has been Modestas Bukauskas, who fights Vitor Petrino. Once again, that fight is at UFC Sao Paulo on November 4th. Modestas, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
My man, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, brother. Always good speaking to you.